Well, thanks everyone for being here today. Really appreciate it. Today I'm joined by Assembly Chair Suzanne LaFrance and Assembly Member Felix Rivera and the city's homeless coordinator Alexis Johnson. Some of you will be surprised to see us here together today because of previous debates and a few disagreements. But effectively addressing homelessness is just too important with all these lives at stake. And I would like to especially thank Suzanne and Felix for being here today. I really appreciate it. Today, in the spirit of cooperation, we are here to talk about setting up the Golden Line as a rooming house to provide housing options for low-income residents and those experiencing homelessness here in Anchorage. To stand up the Golden Line, I put $750,000 in our first quarter budget to bring that property up to standard. Key safety items like the fire sprinkler system and interior electrical upgrades will be addressed by this funding. Tonight, the Assembly will finalize the budget for 2023, and it is my hope that these funds are approved to move this effort along. I support working with the Anchorage Assembly to fund, start up, and bring online the Golden Line Hotel to be utilized as a viable housing option for our city's most vulnerable. As we work together to make sure no one sleeps out in the cold, I have directed my team to move quickly with a plan that opens the former Golden Line Hotel as quickly as possible. With the shutdown of the Sullivan Arena as a shelter, I am committed to standing up the Golden Line in a legal and efficient manner. We realize that the Anchorage Assembly has given us a time frame, and I'm here today to work with them to figure this out and make it happen. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Assembly Chair Suzanne LaFrance for a few remarks.
Thank you, Mayor Bronson. Good morning. First off, I'd like to thank the mayor and his administration, as well as the assembly members who have pushed for the former Golden Lion to be opened as low-income housing for getting us to this point. I want to especially thank Alexis Johnson, the Housing and Homelessness Coordinator. We are finally at a place where we can announce the opening of the former Golden Lion as housing. Although the Assembly and Mayor may disagree on some policy issues, I think I can safely say that we are in alignment on one of the biggest needs in the municipality, the need for more housing. That's why the Assembly, the Mayor, and private and philanthropic partners have worked together to get the former guest house, former Barrett Inn, and the newly named Lake House Inn opened as housing, creating almost 300 units of housing in the span of a year. Turning on the former Golden Lion as housing will add another 85 units so we can continue to chip away at the great need we know exists in our community. So again, I want to thank everyone who helped get us here today. This really is an event to celebrate as a community. With that, I'll turn it over to Assembly Member Felix Rivera, Chair of the Assembly's Housing and Homelessness Committee.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am ecstatic that we are able to announce today that the former Golden Lion will be opened up as housing, adding 85 much-needed units to the mix no later than June 30th. This kind of effort could not be possible without true collaboration between the Assembly, the Mayor, key administration staff like Alexis Johnson, Housing and Homelessness Coordinator, and our private partners. As the chair said, when it comes to housing, there is no argument between the branches of government about the need. The 2022 gap analysis shows that we need, get ready for it, over 2,400 units of low-income housing. The work the Assembly and the Mayor, along with our private and philanthropic partners, have done over the last year has put a dent in that number. We've created about 300 units of housing, and today's announcement will get us even closer to meeting the need in our community. The timing to get the former Golden Lion open couldn't be better. As we prepare for the transition out of the 2022-2023 emergency cold weather shelter plan. These 85 units will play a critical role to ensure that some of those experiencing homelessness will have a choice to maintain a roof over their heads. I say this a lot and I'll keep saying it. Housing is the solution to homelessness. At today's assembly meeting, Assemblymember Meg Zolotel and I will be bringing forward an amendment during the first quarter budget revision process to allocate $250,000 of alcohol tax fund balance to help with startup costs to get the former Golden Lion online no later than June 30th. I want to thank the mayor for putting approximately $750,000 in his proposed first quarter budget revisions to complete the necessary repairs to get the former Golden Lion online. My sincere hope is that this collaboration on housing between the Assembly and Mayor continues. We shouldn't try to water this down. Housing is a crisis within the municipality. Successes like what we are announcing today should provide hope to residents of the municipality that we are moving in the right direction and that we are getting the work done. Let's keep that momentum going. With that, I'll turn this over to Corey Allen Young.
All right, we'll start in the room with Sean Donaldson, ABC Fox.
So when you say to those concerned business owners that are around the Golden Lion Hotel?
One thing, Alexis Johnson, one thing I would say to concerned business owners is this is housing. This is not considered an emergency cold weather sheltering. These people will have rooms and support. They will have access to their support networks. And I would not have a concern, so to speak, because this is not low barrier shelter. It is considered housing. Thank you.
Next, we'll go to Georgina Fernandez with KTVU.
Do you guys have plans what to do between when the Sullivan's closing and that gap before this is open?
Yeah, so our plan right now is to have a smooth transition from the demobilization of the Sullivan into the Golden Lion. And so we hope that there's not a gap. We're just giving ourselves a little bit of extra wiggle room just in case. But our plan is to move transport straight from the Sullivan over to the Golden Lion and housing.
Next will be Wes Early from Alaska Public Media.
So I'm curious, the Golden Lion initially was going to be a treatment center when there were lots of sort of plans to address homelessness. With this now being used as housing, what further sort of treatment center options, if any, is the city exploring for homeless residents?
Sure. Yeah, thanks. So for my part, speaking as an assembly member, I think we will continue to have the debate about using the former Golden Lion as treatment into the future. But for right now, the need that we know we have in the community is housing. And so that is what we are working collaboratively with the administration to achieve. We'll leave that other conversation about treatment to another day.
Zachariah Hughes, Entertainment News.
Mr. Mayor, I wonder if you could share a little bit of your thinking about how it's evolved to open the Golden Lion up. I mean, during your 2021 campaign, you were quite critical of the previous administration overuse of CARES Act money to buy this building in particular and others. And I just wonder what's made the difference over these last 2 years of your term to open it up as a public facility for housing.
Well, actually, nothing's changed. I campaigned the notion it would not be a drug treatment facility. I was very explicit on that. This is not that. This is a rooming house. This is people living actually quite normally here. They just need a little bit more assistance. So it's not a drug treatment facility. That's not what we're proposing here today.
Sean.
When do you all expect, or I guess what is happening to Sullivan Lane once it closes?
Thank you for the question. Tonight at the assembly meeting, we will be asking the assembly to vote on a continuation of the Sullivan Arena at a smaller population. If that is approved, we will be demobilizing a bulk of the clients before May 1st, and then we will continue with a not to exceed number, and that number will continue on to the Golden Lion as housing. The Sullivan Arena will be closed, I believe, no later than June 30th. But the assembly, what we have in front of the assembly today is a closure on May 30th. Thank you.
Georgina.
When I speak with some clients at the Sullivan Arena, they talk about the wait list and waiting to find housing, just spending months waiting for their name to be called up. how's the process gonna work for this? How's that conversation gonna go over the next few weeks with them?
So we have ongoing conversations of who will be going into the Golden Lion. We're working with the Assembly Council and the administration to prioritize people, individuals who have disabilities that limit their daily activity and mobility. And that will be on the Assembly agenda today for approval or disapproval tonight.
I'd like to follow up on Georgina's first question. If you say that sort of you're doing a slow demobilization on May 1st, and the Golden Lion wouldn't be open until June 30th, that does seem to be like an almost 2-month period where at least some people won't have resources. So can you talk about, I understand that some people will still be using the Sullivan, but for people who won't be, what options are available for that 2-month period?
So I think to answer your question, we have plans to utilize the Golden Lion prior to June 30th. And so our demobilization plan is to have a seamless transition between then. If there is something that does occur that we need a little bit of extra time, I believe the deadline is June 30th for that transition. Anyone who does not qualify for this housing, we are still going to work with the coalition for outreach efforts to make sure that they have any opportunity to get into housing.
So you anticipate moving people into the Golden Lion around May 1st?
Probably a week or two after that, just to give us a little bit of wiggle room, but we will be asking for an appropriation of the continuation of the Sullivan so that we have a seamless transition.
Alexa, sorry to make you walk back up. I wonder if you could talk about who the target population is who will be moving over. I mean, is this going to be like the critical care facility in the former Sockeye? Is this going to be families? Is it going to be people who need mobility assistance? I mean, and will each unit be for one person, or what's kind of the layout there?
Yeah, so the target population is individuals who are experiencing mobility issues that impacts their daily life and mobility. And so it will be one person to one room. And that's the population that we're focused on right now, especially since winter is still here. And we know that population is they're going to be highly vulnerable outside with the demobilization. So our request today is to continue the Sullivan at a lower populace for that population.
And who's going to be the operator?
So we don't have an operator named right now, but we are in communications with the Assembly and local shareholders and nonprofits to see who can stand up the facility.
Is it likely that they're going to be kind of ready to go in a week or two into May?
Yes.
What are the qualifications for someone to get into the Golden Lion?
So that's a question that legal is working on right now, but the qualifications that we're being told are individuals who are experiencing a disability that limits their daily activity and mobility.
And you talked about how the target demographics would be people who have mobility issues. If the Sullivan is extended, they are going to be having a house in the Sullivan. What about the folks who might have behavioral health issues? Do we have a plan of where they may be housed?
Task force.
Yeah. So the Assembly recently approved a couple of task forces, one of them dealing with sanctioned camps and how we as a community, if we as a community want to move forward with the idea of sanctioned camps, and then the other one dealing with complex behavioral health needs in our community, which we know exist, especially for this population, but also in our community, in all parts of our community. So the Sanctioned Camp Task Force, they're going to be providing recommendations to us. There are some assembly members who are really interested in ideas like pallet shelters, which that is an actual company that does work. So there's a lot of ideas that we're going to be exploring, and throughout the summer, see if any of these are available to get them stood up.
So no answers for now, just ideas.
So we're going to be exploring a lot of these different options, and then recommendations will come to the Assembly. And in the end, these are policy and funding decisions that both the Assembly and the administration will have to make.
I'm curious if there's going to be 85 rooms available. It sounded like it's going to be one person per room. What sort of options are there beyond the 85 people currently using the Sullivan, or excluding the 85 people who go to Golden Lion for the rest of the people at the Sullivan? What sort of options are there?
So right now, options are pretty limited. We are working with the coalition on their outreach efforts. We are maximizing all stakeholders' time to try and get people into housing or into treatment or into facilities that will continue their care through summer. We do know that there will be an unsheltered population this summer, and we're working with the coalition to limit the impact on both the campers and unsheltered people, and also the constituents in city as far as public safety goes.
Chair LaFrance, a question for you. I'm curious if, given this project and some of the other hotel conversions, if the Assembly feels like there is a template now for standing up shelter, or if this is something that we kind of reached the threshold of and are going to have to invent a new process for finding more units.
Thanks for the question. And it's hard to speak on how 12 members may feel, but as an outgoing member, I do believe that there is a template and that there is a path forward that is working, that has been successful. What are the upper limits of that? I don't know. I think that as far as the continuing conversations about behavioral health, for example, that may open up other avenues, or it may show that more or different options are needed. But the important thing is to keep working on this and to be open to exploring policies that work here and in other places. Thanks.
We have time for just one more question. So, LaShawn, you have the last question.
How does this facility differ than all the other facilities in Anchorage?
Specifically, what other locations?
So like other housing for homeless, how does this differ from others?
I don't believe it does. So we have supported the guest house, we've supported the Barrett, and the newly named Lake House. These are all housing units where tenants are paying rent. It's housing; it's just low income housing, and so the Golden Lion will support that same structure. Their tenants will be paying rent, and they'll have access to their caseworkers or case managers, and also peer support. I mean, it's their home, and they're paying rent to have a lease. So.
I don't have any questions.
Is the Golden Lion going to stay the name?
Have we thought of that yet?
I'll speak on this. I don't know. I think we can have ongoing conversations, but yeah, I think a new name and a new focus, and I think a new future for us would be great. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good.